Mario, our big adventure begins now! Ah! Get it up, get it up, get it up!
Man, I can't believe it. I am Mario. I can't believe it. You say it, Sean, or you say that to me, and it's pretty wild. It was truly a dream come true, man. What an extraordinary gig. I grew up loving the Super Mario Brothers, getting an opportunity to help create that voice with the directors and you know, Michael and Aaron and myself kind of rolling up our sleeves and figuring out what this guy sounds like, what the movie version of this guy sounds like. It was a lot of fun. It was really challenging and incredibly rewarding.
I absolutely love getting to be Luigi. He's such a fun character. His sort of nervous tendencies, his great big heart. It was a good character to play, and I just had so much fun doing it. And it just felt really like lucky and privileged to get the chance to do it, and made sure I just enjoyed every second of it. Which say, hey man, listen, this is a huge opportunity. You're lucky to get it. Appreciate it. So I loved it. Still enjoying it right now.
A lot. I had a lot of leeway to improvise and to colloquialize, and really that's sort of the beauty of this medium is, they're just rolling audio, and you can just say a million different versions of the same line, and you know what the character's trying to say, and so you can say what's written, you can say what's not written to attempt to, get that meaning across, and really you just throw a million things at the wall and you see what sticks. And then when they cut together a little bit of the movie and show it back to you, they say, okay, this is the stuff that's really working. Let's work in this area. So you're constantly refining, and the voice is constantly evolving, and you get immediate feedback from like your previous sessions to determine which tone is right and which sound is right, or how much of the accent is right. And so it was a real challenge, and man, I loved it. I hope we can do some more.
I didn't approach it differently. I always kind of come at it like, all right, who's the character? What kind of voice do I want to do? It's never going to sound too different from my own voice, because I think I have a distinct sounding tone. But what was different was just the reach of these characters and the scale of this movie, and the fact that everyone has a relationship with them for the last 30 some odd years that the game's been around. Which I think occurred to me a little bit after the fact, and I'm glad that it did, because I might have gotten nervous. Although that would have been fine for the character. So the whole thing, beginning to end, was an interesting journey, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of wish I could be recording more Luigi right now. I really just kind of got into it and fell in love with the guy.
Being a fan of the game certainly had an effect on the way that I saw the movie when it was cut together. And I think, just knowing the music, knowing the beats, being able to pick out all the Easter eggs, knowing all of these characters, that's a big part of the joy of this film watching experience. If you've never met the Mario Brothers before, you don't know them, you're still going to be introduced to a world you're really going to love, and you'll totally understand it. And if you do know the characters, there's a ton of sentiment and nostalgia and all of that stuff. So that being a fan of the game really had an impact on how I saw the film. But in terms of approaching it, technically, I knew a lot about the character. I was able to be part of that collaborative team to help bring the story to life, to determine who he is, where should we meet him, how should we meet him, what does he care about, all of the elements that you need to develop in a character when in a narrative format, a 90-minute movie, that you don't necessarily need to know to play a video game. I was part of those decisions, and that was really exciting. And maybe being a fan of the game helped in my input that I gave, in the way that the technique that I, but not necessarily the technique to creating the voice.
Toad is a character that lives in the Mushroom Kingdom that is ruled by Princess Peach, and he is a very gung-ho, member of the kingdom. He absolutely, positively loves where he's from. And when he encounters Mario, he wants to show Mario everything about this wonderful place where he lives. He's also a stout defender of the Mushroom Kingdom. He would do anything he has to do to protect his home. And he has this really willing spirit to go out on an adventure and do anything. In fact, he wants to adventure more than he wants to do anything else in his life. Well, I've been in the booth. I've done so many voiceovers. I've done several voiceover animated films where I've done voiceover for it. And this one is really special because I had the opportunity to really do a voice that's so completely different from my voice. Sometimes you go into the booth and somebody wants you to have a voice that's very similar to yours so that everybody kind of recognizes it's you, and you will not be able to recognize it's me in this movie. And that to me was a really proud accomplishment. Well, when I created the voice for Toad, what I wanted to do was kind of emulate a friend of mine who has these very particular patterns and rhythms. So I was using my friend as the model. And then when I got to the director, I was using my voice as you hear it now. And the director was like, I like what you're doing. Can you get it a little bit higher? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I get a little bit higher. He says, can you get it even higher than that? And I'm like, yeah, I can get it a little bit higher than that. And he's like, can you get it higher than that? And I was like, well, let's see how tight these pants are. You know what I mean? And so we got it up there. And then what I did, I started thinking about just Keegan, just pretend you're on helium. Just pretend you're on helium the whole time. And then I would just imagine myself sucking on a helium balloon so I could get to the void. Just using a little bit of the old imagination, if you will. I tried to stay on the page as best as I could because this movie, the story and the plot lines are very lean and very exciting in and of themselves. But I was given a lot of leeway to improvise. In fact, it kind of ended up on the cutting room floor, but I ended up improvising an entire song for the movie where Toad finally gets to go on an adventure, which he's been waiting for his whole life. He finally gets to go on this adventure, and I got to do that. So I got to actually improvise his little adventure song, and that was a lot of fun. So the director gave me a lot. He actually gave me quite a bit of freedom. My first recollection of Nintendo gaming would have been Donkey Kong. That was my game. So that original appearance of Mario is my experience of the Nintendo world. And I just remember I played it and played it and played it and played it till the TV froze. The TV was like, no more, we can't take any more. And the Nintendo just kept on going. It kept on going.
It was fun to be a part of the movie, you know. I grew up with Mario Brothers, and yeah, I really, asked myself, like, if you saw this movie out in the world, would you be upset if you were not a part of it? And the answer was yes. I thought it would be something that I really would like, and something that, as someone who, really grew up with this stuff, I would be excited to be in it, and so, so that element was cool. And as far as Donkey Kong specifically, like, there's a lot of room for interpretation with that character. I don't think he speaks in any version of, he raps, but I don't think he really speaks in the games, and so it was more about trying to come up with like a funny character and that had a dynamic that worked well on a scene-to-scene basis with the other characters, and that I was able to feel like I was being funny, that really was what then I tried to focus on, and they really let me they really let me do that. They gave me quite a bit of freedom, if I recall. They encourage it, especially with voiceover. It's like, it's so easy to try different stuff, and you're the only one there, so if it's not good, you're not wasting like 200 people's time, you're wasting like 3 people's time, and so it's really like a free and open creative environment, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. Is like, it's a lot easier to try a ton of different stuff on one line in a voiceover film than it is a live action film, again, just because of how expensive time is on a live action film set versus in a recording booth, and so I improvised a lot and gave them a lot of different options and just tried to throw a ton of stuff at them, and they can then kind of sort through it and see what they like. I mean, to some degree, honestly, but not a ton. Like, once you're making the movie, you just want to make the movie as good as possible, and you don't want to be, restricted by those kinds of things. You just got to hope that the movie has been constructed in a way that all that stuff will be served in the best way possible, and from there on out, you're just, I'm just trying to make each individual scene as good and funny as possible, and so it's not like I'm in there in the moment being like, oh, like, don't forget he throws bear. I don't know. Like, it's more like, how do I make this scene funny,